Hey, aloha, everybody. Tom Gaddis here. Welcome to our local marketing jam session, the Friday edition. We're playing around with doing some new days. Hopefully, see what works for people, what works for us, all that kind of stuff. So, super excited to be here. Welcome. I see people are starting to come on. That's awesome. We were a little late getting the live broadcast in there, so hopefully you guys are here. If you can hear me and see me, put a comment in there. Nick's having a little bit of technical difficulty, so he's working on getting on right now. Awesome. I thought I'd start off by just seeing whoever joins us. Did everyone have a good Christmas? Like, I can't believe Christmas is already here and done. It is like so crazy. I don't know what it is about Maui, but it just Thanksgiving and Christmas always catch me off guard. So, hey, aloha. I can't see what your name is. It just says Facebook user, but aloha. Yeah, we had an awesome Christmas here. Got to spend time with the family and hey, Kristen, she survived. That's good. Yeah, sometimes the holidays are just about surviving and getting through it, right? I remember the first couple of years we were getting around Christmas. It was like so stressful because everything like slows down for your, like getting things done for your business comes to a crawl because everybody's taking time off and schedules are different and busy with holiday stuff. And it's like, whoo, it was a lot of work, but yeah, no change of the seasons in Hawaii. That's right. That's, I think, why it catches me so off guard. Like you have no perception of time going by sometimes. It's like really, really crazy. Yeah, happy Christmas to you too. I don't know why it's not showing. It's showing some people's names and some people's names it's not. Hey, aloha, Michael. I'm glad you had a good Christmas. That's super awesome. We had a really great holiday extravaganza last week. Gave away a lot of stuff. That's what was really awesome. It was a lot of fun. Today we're gonna just talk about some stuff. Got some ideas. Hey Tim, yes, we are a day early. So we moved the local marketing jam session this week to Friday, just because we're playing around with some different days to do it on. Saturdays is kind of turning out to be an issue with stuff coming up and just busy schedules. So we thought we'd try it this week on Friday and see how it goes. And if you guys have any suggestions on a day or time, that may work best for you guys, we're always open to those. So yeah, today is our local marketing jam session, the Friday edition. And then Monday, we have our next Shark Alliance coaching call. So Kristen will have our coaching call on there. Hey, aloha, Megan. Megan says you have to grant StreamYard permission to show your name, I think. Oh, okay, maybe that's why. But I see some people's names I don't. So, I see Nick is here. I'm going to add him to the stream. What's up, Nick?
Hey, everybody. I finally made it.
You made it. That's good. Awesome. We're glad you're here.
Does anybody on this live have the brand new 2019 MacBook, the 16-inch? Because I'm having some issues with it, and I'm really upset, honestly, because I love Apple and I love Mac, but I'm having some issues with it. So if anybody else has it, I'm curious to know how your experience is.
Yeah, technology. Whew, man, we could spend a whole hour just talking about the stories of things that we tried to start to do, and then technology, all the hurdles and hoops you had to jump through, and like you sat down and you think, oh, I'm just going to do this one simple thing, and then 8 hours later, you're like no closer to getting it done, and you're just totally frustrated.
Yeah, what I like about Apple, and the reason I've always used it, or not always, but the reason I made the change for Windows about, 8 years ago or something, was because anytime I needed to do something, I would always have to fix my computer, or there'd be some malware, or there'd be some virus, or it wouldn't work. and I found like just Apple to be reliable, right? Like anytime I needed it, it was there and it worked perfectly. And I've always had that experience up until now. And it's hitting me hard right now, honestly, because, I've bought a new computer. It's expensive and you want it to be so much better. And it isn't for some reason, at least for me. I know Cameron's is perfect. Thanks, Cameron.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, Megan says she has the Pro version. She said hers is really great. Yeah, the problem, Megan, is we don't have a Mac store on Mountain.
Yeah. I forgot about that. We don't have a Mac store. We're on this little island with no Mac store. So I actually bought this when I was in Colorado.
Yeah, we used to have a place called Mac. What was that? What was the name of the Mac store that closed? It wasn't an actual Mac store.
It was MacNet.
MacNet, yeah. And the only other place we have here is there's a place called Mac Made Easy over in Kahului, but they're not an official Mac store, right? But they carry a lot of the supplementary stuff you need, but no Mac store. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got to fly over to Oahu for that.
Yeah.
I think it says technology is great, except when it ain't.
Yeah, exactly.
True that.
Well said.
Well, awesome. Well, we're really super excited. You guys are all here. I hope everybody had a great Christmas, and I hope it was safe and you got everything that you wanted. I know we had a good Christmas here at the Gaddis household, and it seems like you had a good Christmas too, Yannick.
Yeah, I did. It's really good. And I know Cameron had a good Christmas too. I think everybody had a good holiday season and everybody spent it with their family. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Kristen, we don't have Experamax either. I've never even heard of them. That's cool. Awesome. Well, I thought we would, we love to do these local marketing jam sessions where we talk about local marketing, what's going on, take some questions from you guys. Any questions you have about anything offline Sharks related or local marketing related, anything like that. So we've got a few things keyed up here. So I think what we'll do is, why don't we start like we normally do with some Shark shout outs. And I know I saw a couple in the Offline Sharks main Facebook group. One was Shannon P., and he just sold a really big website deal, and he's had a couple of those this year. Super excited about that. Really awesome to see Shannon taking action, closing those deals and doing that stuff. And I hope that's a good reminder to you guys that it's out there, right? Like, it's totally doable. If you want to put in a little bit of effort, I don't think it's extremely hard. It just takes a little bit of effort and putting the right processes and systems in place, right? So a big shout out to Shannon P. I also saw somebody posted something really great in the Facebook group. I was scrolling through here before we started up, and it was they had a picture of their gingerbread house they made, and the roof had fallen off. And they said, "Does anybody know a good roofer roundup client?" I thought that made me chuckle. I thought that was awesome. That was great. Yeah, I thought that was a good one. So let's see, what other shout outs do I see in here? Man, I know a lot of people just doing, we have so many Sharks. We see a lot of the same people week after week out there taking action. Zachary Smoosh, Ron C., Carla, Jacqueline Heath. Oh, Jacqueline Heath. I wanted to give her a shout out too, because I saw in the main Offline Sharks Facebook group, she just finished another video on Google My Business, and she posted it in the group for people to see what she was doing, and even made a great give by saying like, hey, if you want a copy of it minus her details, just give her a shout and she'll send you one. So Jacqueline, way to spread the aloha and the holiday spirit, and way to take action. And I thought the video looks good. So yeah, really, really great.
I just sent you a shout out to Rick that I wanted to make. Would you mind pulling that up? Link up and sharing your screen?
Yep. Hold on. Let me make this happen.
Because Rick, our buddy Rick Garcia, I mean, he had an awesome win. And I'm going to let Tom pull up the actual image for you guys because...
Let me put this over here. Let me just get organized here for a second. We'll put this on this screen, and then we can share that one. So we'll share my screen. And we want to share this one. There you go.
There it is. So Rick sold his first website. He's using Agency Growth Machine. He sold it for $1,000 and hosting. So $500 a month for additional services for 9 months. And he scored that deal 2 days before Christmas. And he's not a web expert. He's not a web pro. You know, he used our themes because they're easy to use. And he said he got a $750 profit from the website alone, which that's amazing, right? He probably will spend very little time to set that site up at all. And then he's got $500 recurring for an additional 9 months, which, do you remember the first $500 recurring client you got?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, that
like, you feel like you're rich.
Life-changing, right? That's like a badass car payment, you know? That's not just chump change by any stretch. So good job, Rick. I mean, that's, and 2 days before Christmas, which is awesome, right? You got an early Christmas gift. So
way to go, Rick. That is freaking awesome. There was here, let me see if I can find this. I can show you guys too, since now that I'm sharing my screen. Let me find the one that I thought was so great. Where is it at? There's the video that Jacqueline posted. You guys can go there and take a look at that. Right?
Yeah, that's a great video.
Yeah. And I just thought this was so funny. There's the gingerbread house.
Yeah.
It's good to not take ourselves so seriously sometimes. That's great. And this is so this was an update Shannon put in here too about doing some site speed optimization, which, by the way, for you that are on this call, I see more and more information being published by the go-to places for SEO and website design and stuff like that on site speed. And, I think we were really kind of ahead of the curve on that and bringing that to the forefront as a good foot in the door and a service that we can be offering to bring businesses into our agencies. And I think 2020, it's going to even come more to the forefront because there was just an article. Was it Search Engine Journal? And was that the one that I sent you, Nick?
Search Engine Journal.
Yeah, there's just an article in Search Engine Journal about why businesses need it, why people need their websites, and how even just the tiniest increases make a big difference. And they gave some strategies and some stuff like that. So, and as we've talked about on some of the past few calls as well, Google announced at one of their events that they're going to be rolling out this kind of badge of shame, which is when somebody's site loads slow, that this little image pops up that says this site normally loads slow. And I think as Google, they haven't rolled that out yet, but when Google starts to roll that out, then you're going to really see a lot of businesses scrambling to get that removed because they want people to just come straight to their site, right? It's gonna create a friction point, and friction points are good for us because we can swoop in and take care of those. And so maybe for some of you that are new to the Offline Sharks, we did a product at the beginning of last year called Site Speed Profits, and it comes with a special software that allows you to identify people with slow loading sites and reach out to them with a nice looking report. The report is pulled from Google, but it's designed to, move your prospects to taking action to get it fixed, right? And then we have an outsourcer that just does it for us. And so we gave that outsourcer in the product as well. And I think it's not only is it still a great foot in the door service, but I think it's going to be an even better one as 2020 moves on and Google focuses more in on that, right? Because that's kind of Google's deal, right? They want to make the web and websites and people doing business on the web better. And so they started with SSL, right? Making sure everybody had secure sites, and they slowly brought that in to basically forcing people to do it, right? By showing the not secure symbols, by, putting that warning and back to safety thing that comes up when you go to a site that's not secure, and basically just pushing, making it a ranking factor, all that stuff. That's Google pushing people to change their behavior, take action, and make the web safer, right? Now they're doing that same kind of initiative with site speed, with everything moving to mobile and tablets and all of these other places where we can access information, right? Speed is important. Having sites that load quickly is important. So now they're starting that same thing they did with SSL with site speed. So I think you're going to see more and more about it in the coming year. So I would keep your eyes on that and really seriously look at it if you're not already doing it as a foot in the door service, right?
Actually, and for those of you that don't have it, I'm not trying to pitch anybody, but there is the 12 days or the 12 deals of Christmas that we're running right now. Actually, the deal yesterday was site speed profits. So if you haven't had a look at that, maybe worth a couple minutes of your time to have a look.
Yeah, and I think it's still up there too. I think you can still get it.
There was, I did just send you one more link, Tom, if you can pull that one up really quick, because it's about Matthew. And he made a really funny post actually too about some progress that he's been having. So I was supposed to, it was my turn to get all the banners and the shout outs ready for the live, but because I was having technical difficulties before the show, I wasn't able to do it. So forgive me, everybody.
It's all good.
Tim, don't hurt me, dude.
There's Matthew.
Kristen, be easy on me. Okay, so yeah, there's Matthew, right? Matthew is a Thresher Shark now, level 6. Boom. So he's on his way to Hammerhead status, and anytime that people get out of that like level 1 through 5 stage, I think it's an exciting time, because that's where you get out of the fundamentals and the foundational levels of being in the path to 6 figures, and that's where you start to see people make that big change. So I definitely wanted to give a shout out to Matthew, because I know he's been working really hard to get his prospecting profile set up, and his foot in the door strategy outlined. So now that he's made that progress, if I don't think he's here on this live, but hopefully he reviews it later. Congratulations, Matthew. Way to keep on going.
Yeah, awesome work, Matthew. Yeah, and I think, what's really good to me about seeing people like going through the levels and taking action and doing things too is like, when you're going to grow a business, I know for me, it was really when it came down to the difference between not having a business, not being successful, and being successful. It really came down to me changing my behaviors, right? And if you look at a lot of the stuff that we do in Offline Sharks, that's really what we're trying to get you guys to do and help kind of show you the way, is give you ways that you can change your behavior, things that make it easier for you to get going, or give you something that you can actually do, right? Like, I know, because I compare it a lot to even what I've been going through with losing weight and working out, right? Like, I tried a lot of different stuff, and I could just never get anything to really stick. And then finally, I came across something that just worked for me, right? Like, it's just a system that I can follow, and I've been able to stick to it for 6 months now, which is a start, right? Which is a good start. So hopefully you look at a lot of the stuff that we do in Offline Sharks, the free things, and even the courses and things that we sell and the stuff that we have. That's really what it's all about, right? Is helping you to change your behavior. And I think that's really an appropriate topic, moving into 2020, because, a lot of people spend this time reflecting on what they did the year before, what they want to do in the new coming year. And I can tell, for most of us, it's going to come down to that. Are we going to be able to change our behavior and do different things? Are we going to be able to become the type of person that gets the things, that does the things that allow what they want to happen? I don't know if that made any sense, but what I mean by that is like, if you want to be somebody who's considered a really a good, reliable business person, then you have to take some action and do some things with your behavior that shows you're that person before you even get there, right? Like, always, being honest with your clients, always showing up on time or showing up early, like being that person that they can count on. Like, you have to start doing that stuff from the beginning. And because you're doing those things, then you'll be able to get the types of clients and the things that you want. So that's kind of what I mean by that. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff, in all of our courses and in the Facebook group. And I mean, there's, no matter what level you're at or what your situation is, right? Like Nick and I really try to make a conscious effort to provide things that will help you regardless of what your situation is. And, that's why we do some things we don't charge for, some things we charge for, right? I mean, obviously we have a business, right? We're running a business. So that's one part of it, but we do try to put free stuff out there too. That way, if you're in that situation where you just can't, pay to get into something, at least you have some information that can help you, right? So that's really what we're trying to do with all this stuff. And I see there's some questions coming in. So why don't we, let me pop up our little question and answer banner, and we'll answer a couple of these that are coming in. So I see somebody asked, what do you think about chat on a website? Nick, you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's really good if you have the staff to do it. The one thing that you don't want to do with chat is like have it set up and then have no one there. So yeah. So if you're going to use it, then make sure that you can do it right and you want it to be effective. The last thing you want is for somebody to go to use your chat and they can't get a hold of you, and it almost gives you that feeling like, where are these people? So, but other than that, I mean, if someone has access to you, especially if they're in the sales process, I mean, we use chats in Offline Sharks when we're doing promotions and sales pages and things like that, because oftentimes when people are looking to make a purchase, they have questions, right? When you look to buy a pair of shoes, for example, you want to know, what material is this made out of? And sometimes it's not on the actual packaging or whatever. So a chat can be really, really powerful.
Yeah. And I have one client that uses a chat. They do like water damage, mold repair, and they basically hired a company that's what they do, right? The company, you install their software on the website, and then the company runs the chat and gets you the messages and all that stuff. And
we use a chat software called Lucky Orange. So, if you're looking to, it also does a few other things, but if you're looking to get started with one, I think there's a good entry-level price point for that. And it does some other cool things like also heat mapping. So anywhere on your website that you have traffic going to, it shows you where like people are clicking on the website. So if you have buy buttons and or lead forms or things like that, you'll see where people are actually, converting into a paying customer, perhaps, or whatever your call to action is. Maybe you have like a gallery of some images and you can tell that people are clicking on the images, but they're not, taking the next step. So that can help you to flush some things out. But I think that same person, because they're not logged into StreamYard, is asking about chatbots. And I think the same thing, chatbots are great. We use them all the time. And, I think as long as you're using them effectively, you have someone there where you have flows set up, then that'll be great. And they're from Kona.
Yeah. Hey, welcome. Yeah. And I see Megan had a great question too. Hers was, she feels like her big hangup is the initial email to businesses about these services. Says, how I feel when I get emails out of nowhere trying to sell me something. How do I get over that feeling of being a spammy scammer? I think one of the keys to that, Megan, number one, is just getting clear in your mind, like your goals and your intentions, right? Number one, like if you're reaching out to them about services that we talk about in Offline Sharks, and if you're following kind of the methodology that we use where we identify a problem that a business has, and then we're reaching out to them about that problem and offering a way to fix it. Like, just remembering that you're trying to help, right? Like, your intentions are good. You're not, you're not trying to just, you're not trying to sell them something scammy. Like, you really want to help them and help them be better, right? And so being clear on that like, yeah, and knowing that these services are things that businesses need. Like, they need these, they need to implement this stuff. So, I mean, getting that clear first, I think is one way to kind of get over that. And as you kind of get those relationships going with business owners, and you get some business owners that you help, you'll start to feel better and better about that. It's hard when you don't do that, when you don't have that at first, right? But I think just making sure to remind yourself periodically that, hey, I'm trying to help, right? I have a service. It's just like a CPA, right? Do they feel bad about sending you emails about getting your financial life in order? No, because they have a service that can help you, right? They know their service can help you. So you have a service that can help local business owners just like they do. And we know that service is beneficial to them. So keeping that clear in your mind that, like, hey, I have something good. I'm trying to help, and they have a problem. I can help them fix it. If they don't want help fixing it, so be it. We move on to the next person, right? But I think that's the first step in that direction.
I also think that, man, sorry,
popular guy today.
I also think that I feel the same way, Megan. So when, I'm sending out emails, I try to really set myself apart. And it's the same thing with talking over the phone. I've never really liked doing the cold calling, the phone sales, but recently I've been kind of intrigued by it because, number one, it gets results faster than email. Okay. Like, let's be realistic. No one wants to do it because, there's some fear behind it. But if you can get over that fear and you can make a phone call and come at it from a different perspective, not the cold call sales, pressure sale type perspective, but more like, okay, I found this business online. They have a slow loading website. Like, it loads really slow and they don't know it. And my job is to just kind of give them a call, let them know, no expectation, and see if we can start a conversation. That, to me, is so much easier to do than having the expectation of, like, I need to call this person or these 20 people and I need to make these sales. And for me, like, having that perspective shift it makes it easier to do. And the other thing that has actually kind of been piquing my interest is this book I've been reading, right? Sell Like Crazy. We talked about it last week. I really like this book. It talks about selling. And the guy's perspective is just really, really good. He did he had a career in sales long before he did a digital marketing company, and he would do a lot of cold calling over the phone. And just the way that he talks about it and the perspective and the positioning and the mindset behind it, I think has been really kind of mind-opening for me, because I've always had just being an internet marketer, cold calling has this like taboo behind it, right? Like, nobody wants to do it. Yeah. Don't do it. We need to find all these reasons to, work around it. And I don't know that it needs to really be that way, honestly. So I might get into doing some of this more in the near future. And I would invite you to do that too, Megan, because the other thing is, like, we all get those calls, right, from telemarketers, and you almost can immediately tell when it's a telemarketer. Like, there's like people in the background talking, right? Like, they're in like a war room. You can hear like clicking and typing in the background, or you can hear even like a loud computer fan or something. And they have that real telemarketing voice, right? Like, we all pick up on this stuff when we get a telemarketing phone call, but it's different when you get someone that's in your area like down the street from you or whatever, not even that far away from you, and they call you and they say something like, "Hey, I'm a marketer in your area. I've noticed your website's slow. I would like to send some people your way as potential leads, but we can't even load your website. And I just thought you should know." And like, that's it, right? You start that conversation without the, voices in the background and the fans and all that stuff. People respond and talk to that a lot more. They're much more receptive than, the war room type telemarketing calls. And I think that is what really has the stigma behind it, is having that type of cold calling. So yeah, like crazy.
Yeah, I put it in there by Sabri Subi. He's got, like, I think if you look online, he does one of the, it's like you just pay the shipping to get the book, right?
Yeah, he has a plus shipping offer.
Yeah. And the other part of that too, I think, is like, when you shift your mindset about those things, is like understanding, and one of the books I've been reading talks about this, and I was going to bring it up here in a little bit, but it's like giving yourself permission to suck is like super key. Like, I remember when I was doing some cold calling for somebody that I worked for before, and I didn't want to do it. Like, I hated it. Right. And, he was like, you need to realize, like, the person on the other end doesn't know who you are. Like, they take that call, and whether it goes good, bad, whatever, you hang up, and like, they probably don't think about it again. It's only you that's having this mental issue with it. Right. And, so knowing that when you first, just like anything, when you first start to do it, you're not going to be good at it. But one of the things in this book I've been reading, they talk about, the guy really talks about how he's probably failed more than anyone he's ever known. Like, he's had so many failures, and he goes into all these details about all the failures he's had. And then he talks about how he learned something from every failure. And the way that he looked at it was like, he would try something and it wouldn't work, and he'd go, oh, well, I'm just going to put that in my back pocket. Someday I'm going to be able to pull on this experience, and it's going to help me have something that works. And it can be really hard to develop that kind of attitude, and it takes some time, but I think that's really key. Like, going easy on yourself and just knowing, like, that the people that really succeed are the people that, a lot of people start things and then they stop because they run into all the same roadblocks that everybody runs into. They're not good at it. They feel uncomfortable. The people that really succeed are the ones that push through that and just look at it as a learning experience, and like, I'm going to get better at it. And, if you look at just what we've done in Offline Sharks, like, you go look at some of our early things, it's like, man, there's lots of things we did that didn't work. And we look at them today and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe we did that. Right. But like, we've learned from all those experiences, and it's been able to keep us moving forward. Right. So I think that's another important part like that of that as well. Let's see what's another. Oh, hold on one second.
No problem. Aloha from Kona. Shout out to the Big Island.
This will crack you up. So I hear something rustling by my office door, and this was slid in my office door because they know they don't want to come in and interrupt me, but so they write me a message on a chalkboard. Can I use a yellow onion? Oh my God.
You should just freak out, so they know to never do that.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Anyway, all right. So let's see. Jacqueline says, oh, they get a few seconds of silence because the calls are automated. No one is on the other end until you start talking.
Yeah.
I hang up in that gap. Yeah.
Me too. I do too. You can, like I said, you can tell when it's a telemarketer. You can just tell.
Yeah. Well, and two, that's shifting your mindset, just like you said, to knowing that, hey, again, we just want to have a conversation and we have something that we think that can help them. And I know for me, that was a big shift of just starting to talk to business owners of like, instead of going into the call with the idea that, like you said, Nick, this is exactly what you said. I'm just going to say it again of, I'm going to sell you something, going in with the attitude of like, hey, I have something that I think might help you, but I don't know if it'll help you or not. Like, we need to figure out if it's something that would even work. Like, are we even a good fit? Is it a good fit for what you're doing? Like, even just shifting that little bit can really help. So,
And having that discussion, everybody, like that opens the door to so many other things, right? Like just having that discussion starts to, you can ask questions, what other problems are you having? Does that mean that you're not getting a lot of leads from your website? You may have noticed a huge drop in traffic. You may have noticed less phone calls. This could be the reason why. Here are some other things that we do to help increase those things.
Yeah. Getting over those, and that's what we were talking about earlier on, right? Getting over those fears, being able to, changing behavior is hard, and we all get into habits. And I know my natural state is to look for the easy way. Like I will try whatever I think is the easy way first, and then when it's like that doesn't work, then I'm like, I guess I'll do something else, because I want to be successful, right? And maybe you have to go through that process too. And I used to feel bad about that. Like I used to beat myself up over that. And now I don't feel so bad about it because it's like, hey, maybe that's just the process I have to go through, right? Maybe I have, maybe someday I'll learn that I don't need to get in that uncomfortable position, right? I can just start with the thing and just do it. But for now, it just kind of is what it is. But I'm getting better at it. So,
another little trick that I learned from this guy that I just read was, how whenever you're doing a sale or whatever, even if you're not like cold calling or sales emails or whatever, but when you're talking to somebody and they're thinking about buying, a often objection is to hear someone say, I have to think about it. I mean, people almost always say that, right? Oh, well, I have to think about it. And what this guy says that means is, they have a fear or an objection that they just don't want to tell you about. And a good way to get around that is to say something like, it's not an ordinary service or product or deal. Most people have to think about it, but what part of it is it that you have to think about? And that kind of like, is it the money or is it the service or is it the length of time or what is it? So it kind of just brings it back to the surface. I thought that was a great objection handling tactic.
That is good. Yeah, Cameron reminded me in the comments of a story. So Cameron and I have a mutual mentor, and this was a story he used to always tell us, and it was about this private at an Army base, and he hangs up on the general, right? And the general calls him right back, and he's screaming, and he's like, "Do you know who I am? You hung up on me. I'm the general of this base." And so the private says, "Well, do you know who this is?" And the general says, "No." And the guy says, "Okay, goodbye." And he just hangs up.
That's funny.
So, and that's a story our Richard used to tell us about the cold calling. Like when people get all upset, like, "Well, do you know who I am?" And they'll be like, "No," and you just hang up. Like, yeah, they don't know who you are. And another tip that he used to give us too is when he had his consulting firm, he would not call as himself. He had a calling name. So he made up a name, and then he would always call as, well, my makeup name is Chuck Finley. So he'd be like, hello, this is Chuck Finley. And so that way it really wasn't him, right? But it also positioned him because as he set up a point, it was like he had somebody on his staff working for him. And think about that. Like imagine if you hired somebody to make calls for you, like how the pressure's kind of off them because they work for you, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, man, this is what I have to do because I'm hired. And if somebody gets snippy, like you could almost say that to somebody like, look, man, I'm just doing my job here, right? They gave me your name. They said you had a problem. I'm just trying to help. Like, I didn't mean to, to set you off like this or whatever. And so that's another thing. Like you can use that attitude as well. Like, hey, listen, man, I'm just doing my job here. Like, I'm sorry it hit you at a bad time or whatever. But the reality is those are the fears we have, that everybody's going to be irate. Everybody's going to tell us to go to hell. And the reality is it's not like that, right? Yes, that does happen sometimes, but like you can just, when that happens to me, I just remind myself like, hey, I don't know what's going on in that person's life right now, right? Maybe something really bad just happened and that's why they're in this kind of mood, but I don't take it personally, right? And that's something you got to kind of keep in there as well.
But let's talk about that for a couple more minutes, because yeah, it's a skill and a thing that a lot of people don't like to do, but that skill is directly connected to making money. Like, if you can get good at that, you can make money. Like, that's the door opener to making money, right? Especially if you're, a member of our community. You have all these things that you can do to fulfill. You have services that you can outsource. Like, you can not even know how to run AdWords and just use our outsourcing recommendation team. And all you could have to do for the rest of your day, for the rest of your week, for the rest of your month is just make calls to people that have crappy AdWords going or need AdWords. And if you make the sale, you send our outsourcing team the work and you could be getting paid. Like, that skill is a shitty one that no one wants to, learn. But if you could get good at it, and it wouldn't take you a lot of time, like it would just take repetition, right? And diligence to continue to do it. I mean, that is directly related to making money. So anybody on this live that has a cash flow problem, you should try picking up the phone. It could really solve that problem for you.
Or just dropping by and saying hi to businesses, taking them some donuts and just saying, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself, And I think, and by the way, we practice what we're preaching here. Like, we're not just telling you to do these things that we don't do. Like, I built my agency off of just walking into businesses because my back was against the wall, right? Nick is a really good example too, because Nick's least favorite thing to do is to speak in public and to be like on the webinars and do things like these Facebook lives. Like, he does not like to do those things, but he has made a conscious effort to get better in that area. And he's done things to change his behavior to get better at them. Right. And I see the difference. I see the difference every time we get on these calls and we do things and just watching him operate. And so, we're not telling you guys to do things we don't do. I just want to put that out there.
The first webinar we ever did, I basically had an anxiety attack. I'll just be honest. I think I hit pause for a second and went dark. Tom was like, hello. Hey, we lost Nick. and you know what it is? I think everybody goes through it, especially when you're getting into our industry, is most people don't get into this with some, huge background in marketing or sales or, running traffic through Facebook. So when you get to some level of information and knowledge and skill, you only know that much, right? And if you're trying to tell somebody about that type of thing, you always get that imposter-like syndrome, in your head. And I know basically everybody struggles with that at some point in their career as they progress, right? Like, imposter syndrome, especially when you're self-taught. I think it's more of prominent thing for people that are self-taught in anything. You can get really good at something, but still think you're horrible at it because you taught yourself.
Well, and when you start doing things, you realize like, well, I was able to do this. Like, it's almost like when you run into other people, you think, well, obviously everybody knows how to do this. Like, if I can do it, everybody knows how to do it. And then you realize they don't all know how to do it. And you think sometimes you do it and it's not as hard as you thought. And you're like, well, this was really easy. Anybody could do this. And that even causes you to devalue it even more, even though the reality is it's like just getting to doing that part is the big thing, right? To taking the action and doing that stuff. This actually segues really great into our what Tom reading section because these books that I have picked out, this is like so serendipitous. They just really tie into what we're talking about. So the first one,
you're basically in the library right now.
I am in my library. So this was one that I just I finished reading like about, I guess, a week before last, and it's by Dan Kennedy, who we love around here, and Chip Kessler, and it's called Making Them Believe. And this book, like, if you want to talk about getting you fired up to like take action, this book will do it because it's all about this guy called Dr. J.R. Brinkley. Okay. Now, Dr. J.R. Brinkley, way back in, I think it was the 40s, he sold a service to make men, how do I say this in a nice way, more virile. Okay. And we will just say that his procedure was very drastic because it involved surgery and an anatomy piece from a goat. I'll just say that. Yeah. And so this guy, it's one of Dan Kennedy's books that he did. You can get it on Amazon. And this guy became one of the richest doctors in his time. And all on this crazy thing. And what's really, when you see how he did it and like the stuff that he went through, like he was not in a major city. People that wanted to do his procedure, they had to travel long distances. It cost a lot of money. He had all these things working against him, right? So he really developed this promotion machine that like pre-qualified his clients, like got them into the step. And this is basically what they did was they looked at what Dr. Brinkley did and they broke it down into 21 principles. The 21 Principles and Lost Secrets of Dr. J. Brinkley Style Marketing. And this book will, like, when you see how like audacious this guy was, you'll be like, what? Like it was just a matter of him doing it. Right now, eventually he went down hard because the American Medical Association did not like what he was doing. Right. But a really good book. And it really ties into what we're talking about, just having the confidence to move forward and do. And so this is one I would recommend. And you can still get it on Amazon, Making Them Believe. It's a pretty quick read. Dan Kennedy writes a chapter, then Chip Kessler writes a chapter. But I found it really good. I got some good ideas out of that. Another one that kind of ties into what we're doing. And there's actually this is an older version of this book. So I don't know how easy it is to find, but he does have a new version of this too. I was talking about the guy who was talking about all his failures. And that guy's name is Joseph Sugarman. Who, if you guys don't know who that is, he's the guy behind Blue Blockers and a huge icon in direct marketing. And so he had a book called Success Forces. And he's got I think there's a newer version out that's like the seven principles of success or something like that. But this book is another book that is really good, especially in the beginning when he's going through like all the things he did that didn't work and all the failures and the setbacks he went through and how many times he thought he had a winner and it just totally blew up in his face and he ended up owing a bunch of money and how he worked through that stuff. But also in this book are what he calls the success forces, right? And, just to give you an idea of what they are. So number one is always be honest. Number two is cherish your failures, which we talked about earlier. Number three is relish your problems, like realizing that your problems are really a way to get to a better place. Concentrate your powers, do it differently. And then this will be one Nick really loves. He has one called Clean Your Desk. And he talks about how one of the things that he implemented in his company was making everyone clean their desk before they went home, and how just doing that one little thing increased their profits. And that's one of the things he uses when he's stuck, making sure his desk is clean at the end of the day and all that stuff. So you can maybe be able to find this old version, but I think the new version is just as good too. And the last book, so these two I've already finished reading and they're really good. The last one I'm about halfway through, and we talk about copywriting and direct marketing and how it's important to become a student of that. And this is another Joseph Sugarman book, and it's the Adweek Copywriting Handbook. You can definitely get this on Amazon. I'm like halfway through this thing right now, but this is a great thing to read about, writing copy and direct marketing in general and the principles that you can use to apply to your business as well. So I'd say any of those three books tie in really well with what we've been talking about today, right? Getting confidence and doing those things. So so that's it. So that's what Tom is reading this week.
I was just thinking that we should probably, we have so many great book recommendations and we've learned so much from these books that we should probably put together a list as we make them and keep them somewhere for everybody. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Cameron and I are working on that. I
Okay.
tried to get something set up and I couldn't get it set up the way I wanted, but yeah.
Sean might be able to help us too.
Yeah. Yeah. I see there's some questions about that. So, so Cameron says, tell us what service he used. Yeah. So it was basically what he did was he took, so there's a couple things about this. So back in the 40s, because there were a lot of farmers, right? Here's something you need to know. Goats were considered a very virile. They were considered a very virile animal, right? So when he proposed his procedures, that was already an accepted fact that goats were extremely virile, right? So people already had that kind of knowledge. And so what he did was he would take out the goat's private parts and surgically add them to a man. And so he had this farmer who he did the procedure on, and then the farmer, his wife was like so happy and he was happy, and then the farmer was an older guy and they had a kid. Imagine that as a testimonial. He does this procedure and the guy who hasn't been able to have a kid has a kid, right? So like he piggybacked off that. So that was what he did. I won't say the words because it's just, I mean, it's crazy when you read the story, you're going to be like, this is totally insane. But to see how he did it and how he sold it was really, really amazing. And Stan, I see, he said, or somebody said something about who bought it. Was it the men or the women? And interestingly enough, he marketed to men, but a lot of women pushed their men into getting the procedure done. So it was like, it was really crazy, you know? And he got like, so the women would get behind the thing and do it. So yeah, it was really, yeah, Cameron, you're right. I think it's 7 Forces of Success, I think is the new version of the Joe Triggerman book. Stan says, yeah, Triggers is really good. Also, I have that behind me somewhere on the, right here. Yeah, I have Triggers as well. But yeah, anything by Joseph Sugarman is good to read.
Hey, Megan had a comment or a question that said, have you guys ever considered adding a role play thing to your trainings? The initial call seems easy, but the transition to, hey, I can do this for you, part of the conversation. So Megan, that's actually exactly what we try to help teach in the Shark Alliance. So there are so many case studies where I've made sales calls on the phone and recorded them and put them, you can hear both me and the prospect, where I, walk them through the sales process. Some of them say no, some of them say yes, but you'll find all those in the trenches trainings section of your Shark Alliance members area. So, and I think that
we have some of those as in some of the, I know we included some of those in some upgrade packages to some of our other courses as well.
Yeah, so, I think in Sitespeed Profits we have 1 or 2.
Yeah, we try to sprinkle those in around places because we know a lot of, you can't really get that anywhere else. Nobody else really does that. We suspect it's because they don't have anything to record, but we're not saying that's the actual case.
And I actually have in an hour, I have a appointment with a personal injury attorney, and who knows what's going to happen. But what I'm going to do after that experience is, document what we said. I'm not going to, put my phone on voice memo in front of him because I just don't feel comfortable with that client doing that or asking him. Maybe I should get comfortable doing that, but yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take notes, while I'm there, and after the actual experience, I can report back to the members of, the Shark Alliance and the Path to Six Figures. So that's what we do with that type of in the trenches training. Anything that we can do to like help give you a kind of a backstage view as to what happens, we know is really helpful to you.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And one of the things too that Nick mentioned earlier is we do have our 12 deals of Christmas going on, and I have a link for that. I'm going to put it here. If you guys haven't checked it out, I like this new scrolling feature. You just go to offlinesharks.com/Christmas. And here, let's go there. Let me, hold on. Let me go there. And because I think there's some things on here that may relate to kind of what we were doing in our call.
Hey, and a final shout out, Tom. Offline Sharks Facebook group has 7,000 members.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember when it was just you and me in there.
Yeah. Just hanging out by ourselves.
Man, awesome job, Nick. Nick really worked hard to build that Facebook group up. So,
but the people in that group, the people on this call are what really drive it today. You know, without everybody on this call posting your questions, answering questions, sharing your struggle and your success, like we wouldn't have that tremendous resource for all of us to be able to, you know, grow and learn from together. So good job, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, that group is awesome. You don't know how many, I mean, you know, so many people that Nick and I meet that are, you know, other people out there that have courses and things like that. And they come into your guys' group, Offline Sharks, like, and it's everybody on this call. It's your group, right? Our group. They come into our group. Like, we always get tons of comments on just what a great group it is, how interactive, just the level of engagement and the questions and the help and all that stuff. So yeah, great job, guys. And we really appreciate everything all you guys do. So this is our 12 deals of Christmas page. I'm gonna do a shameless plug here real quick. So the first deal, by the way, was free. And this was a training that we did with so Brian Tracy has a franchise of business consultants, and there's one here on Maui, and we did a live training with her where she went through some of their consulting stuff from the Brian Tracy focal point, and that was really good. There's some downloadable stuff that comes with that. So that deal is free, and you can still get that one, and then you can see every day new deals open up. So here's the Site Speed Profit. Some of them are at big discounts, all that kind of stuff. So here's 4 and 5, and then you can scroll down. If they're grayed out, they're not live yet. So you can go down here and see what's coming. Well, I guess 7 and 12 aren't there yet, but Cameron did a really great job with this page. So thanks, Cameron. Yeah, awesome. Let's see. Let me see. Stan, mahalo. Thanks for coming. Yeah, I think we're rolling up on 11 o'clock. So I think we can wrap up this local marketing jam session. We won't see you guys again until next year. Hey, we can use that joke. See you next year.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on your email and in the Facebook group as we kind of discuss how this went on Friday. We'll probably do it again next Friday at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And we'll just kind of see how these go from there. But we love you guys showing up with your questions and all that kind of stuff. So thanks so much, Nick. Anything else you want to add before we go out of here?
Yeah, just if this day and time works good for you, let us know in the comments too, so we can kind of, you know, gauge and get a read from everybody in the group. I think that would be really helpful because, you know, not only for us, we want to also make it work well for you. And, you know, again, with the 12 deals at Christmas, it's going to be, you know, just for a limited time. So, you know, go ahead and check it out. We have a lot of great stuff there. We wanted to, you know, provide you with something where we could give you, you know, obviously a great value, but also make it fun. And we have, you know, Cameron put a lot of time into making sure that we do that, right? We give you a lot of value. We have fun with it. There's some surprises that are going into that 12 deals of Christmas. So keep your eye on your email inbox for that too. And thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, and everybody have a super safe and very happy New Year. And we look forward to seeing you guys all on the next local marketing jam session and inside the Facebook group. So thanks again for spending this Friday afternoon with us. Aloha, everybody. And yeah, Happy New Year.